Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I'm going to discuss a little bit about traffic in the Philippines today and take you along on a ride on a motorbike taxi, a Habal Habal ride that I hadn't planned on taking, but was Friday, rush hour traffic in Cebu City. Uh, couldn't find any taxis and contacted a grab car a couple times. They were all busy. Actually talked to a couple of Habal Habal drivers, and my Filipino friend didn't want to pay, wanted to haggle the price down. So they just left, and we were left standing on the side of the road. And I finally convinced her that sometimes we have to pay the price. Sometimes you have to pay the price. You've got traffic, and these guys don't have to take you for the bottom dollar. So we end up paying each of these two drivers 150 pesos, $3 each, for a what would have been over an hour in a taxi. And they are a little more efficient. Now, my friend's Habal Habal driver took a different route, and we took the longer route, but we got there more than 5 minutes faster. Anyway, those are some of the things you learn as you're in town, and sometimes the shortest route is not always the best. And I've had taxi drivers I've questioned as I've gotten to know the town. I've questioned the direction they're going on a rare occasion, and they've explained that yes, traffic this time of the day on this road, and a lot of times they stay in contact with other drivers as well by phone. So they know there's an accident or construction in a certain area. Anyway, with a country, a nation of 7,000 plus islands, of course, traffic varies greatly from the small island like Malapascua Island on the north, which is a big diving resort area on the north end of Cebu City. I still don't think they have any four-wheeled vehicles. Everything is pretty much by motorbike. Maybe they have tricycles up there, but I don't remember even any tricycles either. But they have to have a way to transport some of those goods. Everything comes by ferry, by small banca boat. The fuel, the food, everything virtually comes from the big islands. And so that has to get transported around the island. And I've done a couple of videos from Malapascua Island. It's where I learned how to scuba dive, and took a motorbike trip around, and pretty much everything is just skinny little trails. People walk, people use their motorbikes. So you have that extreme, and then you have an extreme like Manila, probably the most densely populated city in the world. Densely populated. I think the metropolitan area has over 30 million people in it. The metropolitan area, not the city itself. And they are I've talked to a couple taxi drivers, grab drivers down here that have come from Manila, and they say, oh, this is great. This is great. There's no traffic in Cebu compared to Manila. And but the traffic has gotten worse the 4 years that I've lived here in Cebu City. They made it very easy for people to buy cars. I saw a sign the other day, and one peso down payment, 1 peso. And you still need a job or some income, obviously. But they're thinking about passing a law. So if you don't have a place to park your vehicle, you can't buy a vehicle. Because what's happening, people are buying the cars, they don't have a place to park. They're parking on the narrow streets and further clogging up those streets and backing up traffic further. There are some major infrastructure projects going. Manila area has for many, many, many years had a passenger train system, the MRT and the LRT, I think, light rail. And MRT3, for instance, I think it breaks down. Occasionally, people have to get out and walk or wait for the next train. They are expanding the rail network even into Mindanao, and there are plans to bring rail into parts of Cebu as well, into the Visayas. There are plans to connect more and more islands together. We're presently building a new bridge from the South Road property area down in South Cebu City over to Mactan Island. So that will give us 3 bridges. That should free up some of the traffic that has to go all the way through Cebu City into Mandaue City to cross a bridge presently. All that traffic coming from the south. And of course the international airports over on Mactan Island, as well as many resorts that receive their produce from the produce trucks that come in. And there's a couple of industrial areas, several plants. Timex plant has a plant, Timex watches, and a light industrial area over there, so they all need their goods as well. And all that has to come up through Cebu City, Mandaue City, and then cross the bridge. One is a 2-lane bridge, one's a newer 4-lane bridge, but they can get packed and quite slow during rush hour. Traffic enforcement and traffic lights, traffic signals are lacking in many parts of the Philippines. The other day they had a timed system, a synchronized system of lights, and the system went down and backed up traffic for many hours in I think Cebu City, Mandaue City area at a number of intersections where there were lights. We have almost no stop signs in the city area, and traffic works. Traffic kind of like you watch ants work. That's kind of how the traffic works here sometimes. And they have hired more and more traffic enforcers. They've even had the barangay, the village tanads, do more of the traffic control. And taxi drivers will tell you that, yes. Sometimes that seems to make it even slower, because the way it often works is people stick their nose out there into traffic where there is no traffic control, and traffic will stop eventually, and they will allow a certain number of vehicles to come from that direction, and other people will stick their nose out, traffic will stop. And there isn't very much road rage here. You do get a little bit of the long honks and the nasty looks occasionally, but they make it work. Now there's an ambulance there, and you'll hear lots of ambulances coming from different areas, and it seems to me in the last 4 years that I've been here that traffic has started moving out of the way of ambulances when possible, more often than I saw when I originally moved here. It seemed like originally people just kind of ignored them, but now I think there must have been some kind of educational advertisements on television and radio, and more I see people trying to move over if they can. And we do regularly use oncoming traffic lanes. The motorbike taxis do. Sometimes the taxis will do that if they know they're going to make a left-hand turn and they know there's a left-hand turn, which is very rare that there's a left-hand turn. So oftentimes this traffic, like here, if you want to make a left-hand turn, many places like this, here we can, but we're going to go straight. But many places there's no left turn is allowed, and what happens? People will have to make a right turn, and go down, make a U-turn someplace in traffic, and come back from the other direction. One rarely sees a vehicle pulled over by what you would think is a highway patrol or a city police officer. You just don't see that. Occasionally I see a checkpoint, and they're usually pulling over a lot of the motorbikes, especially the guys with 2 on there, because we've got kind of a epidemic of shootings. 2 people on a motorbike with masks shooting somebody they have a grudge against, or some drug dealer or something. So they're stopping and checking registrations and licenses, and some cities, in fact, like Mandaue City, I've had a Habal Habal driver take his covering that he uses to protect himself from the sun, his face mask, take that off as we entered Mandaue. He said, "It's not allowed there, you'll get a ticket there." And I think there are other cities as well that have those kind of rules. I have met a couple of foreigners, a couple expats who drive here who have received tickets, and might be a minor headlight out, or making one, made a left turn where he wasn't allowed to make a left turn. And you know, they complain about it, but and occasionally you hear about people, and you hear about this in lots of countries, that you can, the officer might say, well, you can save some money by just paying the fine here, and basically that's illegal to do that, but I think it's probably happens, no doubt. You can rent cars here, and you can get them at the airport. There are a number of rental companies in town. The different towns, there are people who will rent their private vehicles. And insurance, obviously, is a big concern, especially if you're a foreigner. So you're going to want to know that either your credit card company will cover damages if you're traveling, if you're renting out of your own country, or purchase the appropriate insurance when you rent a vehicle. And these Habal Habals, in fact, there's a company operating in Manila area and Cebu City presently called Ancus. And they are kind of like a Grab of the motorbike industry. And Grab car also has motorbike taxis in, for instance, Vietnam. They're real big into that, but they haven't brought the Grab motorbikes here yet. Anyway, they're under a 6-month trial period. It was deemed that because Habal Habal drivers, these motorbike taxis, were not regulated, that they were illegal. The Supreme Court came down with a ruling maybe 6 months ago, and they tried to shut everybody down. And that reality is tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people rely on either the income or the transportation from these guys. And anyway, they're on a trial basis, and there will be more regulations, more training, insurance, which would be a good thing if these guys, but then the rates will go up obviously as well if they're required to carry insurance on their passengers. As you travel around the different islands, the different towns, the provinces, the small towns, the larger towns, you'll find transportation changes by area. An area that used to be all buses, for instance, might have the 12 to 15 passenger vans now. Or the vans didn't work out well and the buses have taken back over that area. And you just have to ask the locals about the transportation. A city like Surigao City in Mindanao, I've been there. There are no taxis, I don't think. There are buses, there are jeepneys, a lot of tricycles, and some Habal Habal drivers. And that's your mode of transportation. Dumaguete City, which is real popular with expats, I don't believe they still do not have taxis there, I believe. So there again, it's tricycles, Habal Habal, motorbike taxis, jeepneys, and buses to get around there. This trip was from the Mango Square area over to J Center Mall, where immigration is, on a Friday night, rush hour traffic, and took us, I think, just about 25 minutes to get over there, and my friend took about 30 minutes. And a taxi, no doubt, would have taken probably an hour and 15 minutes at least. It would have been over an hour for sure, no doubt in my mind, because I've walked this street many times, this area. I've taken taxi. Sometimes I can walk faster than a taxi goes on a Friday night. If you need to go to an airport or a ferry terminal during rush hour in the larger towns or cities, take into account the rush hour traffic. Now this guy gets real efficient here. Little risky, but I will call his driving efficient. And we did not have any what I would call close calls. Didn't rub my knees any place. A city like Iloilo City has a reputation of having better planned and faster traffic. And I've been told that by many people. There's just a world of difference in Iloilo City. I think they also rank as one of the higher fatality rates on the roads, because with speed, your crashes are at a higher speed, of course, there's more likelihood that there's going to be major injuries and death involved. Here we're often moving quite a bit slower, but I have seen a number of accidents, some of them pretty bad. Seen one accident where somebody was texting or something, some car plowed into 3 motorbikes that were stopped at a stoplight. So that texting, you see guys driving down the road on their motorbikes texting, people in their cars texting, and it's they haven't had the big crackdown on it here like they have back in the States, other parts of the world. The pollution, well, the traffic issue is the big one, and then the pollution from these older Jeepneys is another big issue here. And they're slowly trying to replace them with what they call beat buses, different types of buses. And they've got a number of bus companies running local routes here between the different malls and the airport and different areas. My bus is one. Sugbo Express, I think, is another one. There's another one or two that run pretty much local routes, either a little bit north, a little bit south. These Jeepneys run regular routes to different places. They have numbers on them. So you ask the locals what number you need to take to go to a certain place. And during rush hour, they pack those things in. So it would be, you might, so I had friends that I've waited for taking Jeepney, and it's like, every Jeepney was full. You know, it's rush hour. And that is J Center Mall right up there. So anyway, wherever you're at, your transportation options will vary. Beware of, don't make any sudden moves left or right, because people will pass you on the left or right at the worst time. And just be very defensive in your driving if you're driving. And anyway, it's just a little bit of an introduction to traffic here in the Philippines and Cebu City. So thank you for coming along. Please like the video. Please share the video. Please subscribe. Safe travels to you all wherever you're at. And I'll see you next time.